What is going on, everybody? I'm your average gamer, and today we are going to discuss my top 10 favorite tips for God of War Ragnarok. I really hope that you guys enjoy. Now, when it comes to these tips, I'm sure there's going to be some that are absolutely game-changing to a lot of you, and then there's going to be some that, you guys already heard of, kind of generic, get it out of my face. But I'm going to touch up on every single tip, give a little bit of an explanation behind why it's super important. Now, to be completely honest, as the list goes on, of course, the tips are going to get way better, but they're not really in any specific order because I can make an argument for pretty much any of them to be higher on the list. But I think that's what makes this list so good, is that all of them deserve a top 5 spot. Coming in at number 10, again, something I'm sure a lot of you guys know, but use the Mystic Gateways. They do give you full health and full rage anytime you touch them. So if you are missing just a little bit of health or a little bit of rage, and you know a boss fight is coming up, you might as well just stop for those 2-3 seconds, press circle again, and you have full health and full rage. The very next one, number 9, enemies can get super armor. Now, this is actually really important. Again, I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this by now, but as soon as any enemy starts glowing, they cannot be interrupted. You can still do a whole bunch of damage, but you have to be careful with the runic attacks you use and the combo finishers. Now, sometimes personally, it might be a little hard to see when they're glowing when you have so many different stuff happening, so there is a little symbol on top of their health bar. What makes this crucial is knowing when it's going to pop up, when it's going to proc. So when they get that super armor is super important. It's going to happen when you're just beating the absolute crap out of any enemy. So anytime you're runic spamming, anytime you slow down time and you're just continuously beating the crap out of them, they're going to get that because the game tries to balance it out a little bit. And I think it's very fair. I don't think that the enemy should be infinitely staggered because of these animations, especially since some of them are very long. Now, with that being said, do not be scared to be super aggressive. If you watch any of my gameplays, you will see that I W key everything on this PlayStation exclusive, because that is just how I like to play. Now, of course, I try to switch it up, make things look cinematic, whatever the case may be. But majority of the time, I'm trying to just press the enemy and just attack them nonstop. At number 8, this is more a suggestion than it is a tip, but use everything in the game. I'm tired of seeing people use the exact same setup, same armor sets because they see it on a TikTok. I understand it's effective, but it is quite fun just trying to figure it out. Sometimes it's going to be trash. A lot of the times it's going to be good. This game it's not hard to make a build. Of course, there's those really cheesy ones that you can do a lot of crazy stuff with, but it's very fun just experimenting. I can't express enough how many times I've just switched a blade pommel, an axe pommel, or whatever it may be, and had a lot of fun with just using that specific thing. I've done rage builds, stun builds. I've tried to build all around it, high defense, high strength, and all of it is quite fun. Now, a lot of people are going to have preferences with how they play. Understandable. If some people prefer strength builds, some people prefer runic builds, but just switch it up. You never know. Maybe make a combination of both. Try something that you have never tried before. At number 7, something I see a lot of people do but not really take, advantage of how good it can be, and that is to inflict status effects. So this is huge. I'm sure you guys already know about the poison. That's been something that's been run into the ground. You have the burning and then the frost. So anytime that they're frozen, of course, they are slowed down. The burning does damage over time. And the poison is probably the most useful one because it lowers the enemy stats, meaning they're going to do less damage and they're going to receive a whole lot more. To benefit off of this even more, if you have the Vanaheim amulet equipped, you will do additional melee damage to anybody that is status inflicted. So that just goes hand in hand. Now, it is based off of luck. There's been multiple times I've had like 150, 200 luck, and just to have that additional melee damage was just super useful. So if you're having a hard time finding amulets, I think the Vanaheim ones are kind of a must. Moving down the list, we're at number 6, and this is the L1 triangle. Now, this is a new move that is in this game. They built off of it from the 2018 God of War, where you just got to charge up your weapon. And in the 2018 God of War, it would automatically proc, and you would get bonus to attributes. But I love what they did in this game, and they gave you the 2018 runic attack as just a regular ability, and I think that is amazing. Now, to really use this effectively, be as close as you possibly can to an enemy when you're about to activate it, because whatever weapon you're about to use between the axe and the blades, you can inflict that status affliction on them, whether it's the burning or the frost. So if they're literally so close to being status afflicted and you have the L1 triangle, make sure that you activate it in front of their face. It saves you some time from trying to build up the burn and or the frost. And again, if you have the Vanaheim amulet equipped, that just allows you to do more damage. Halfway down the list, at number 5, we have the blades give you rage. Now, this is going to be something where, a lot of people know and a lot of people didn't know, but this is a super helpful tip. I cannot tell you how many times I use this to build up my rage. It may not be an overwhelming amount, but it is super nice to, kind of balance your rage out, use it when you're supposed to, instead of just spamming it 24/7. Now, number 4 is a little bit more situational, but still an amazing trick to have in your bag, and that is to use rage to negate damage, but also help it from deteriorating your skill gauge. That skill gauge being your L1 triangle. So right here, I get a couple hits in with my weapon. I wasn't quite confident that I was able to get the L1 triangle off, so I activate my rage, and as soon as I deactivate it, I'm right where I left off, which allows me to activate that L1 triangle. Coming in at number 3, I feel like this comes with experience, but knowing what moves stagger enemies. So a lot of enemies can be continuously staggered by using runic attacks, combo finishers. You can use your rage, or just by holding down square for your companion can also stagger the enemy, which allows you to do a whole lot of damage. But be careful, like I said, these enemies do get super armor, so you kind of have to be careful knowing when to fall back and when to engage even further. Number 2 might seem kind of duh, but use the weapons for their intended purpose. Now, as I explained earlier, the blades can give you an insane amount of rage. It is good at crowd control. It helps you fight a lot of enemies at once. It also helps you get that immolation charge really quick, so you go ahead and use that. You can use your spear for multiple different reasons. I kind of use it for more of the projectiles to get them off of my back to, make sure they don't hit me for a second. It's a good CC weapon too, meaning the crowd control. Probably nowhere near as good as the blades, but you can still do a lot of cool things. And my personal favorite, the Leviathan axe. I think the axe is the most underutilized thing in this entire game because of the R2 slam with the blades when you're just spamming triangle and then you just R2 slam. I think the axe was intended to be the most single target damage output, and that's kind of how I use it. So anytime that I have basically everything procced, if they're burning, if they're poisoned, if I have my permafrost activated, I activate it and I try to do the most amount of damage as possible with it. Finally, at number 1, this is what I consider to be the best tip I can give you guys, and that is to use all the rages. I bring this up because I feel like 90% of the people that play this game only use Wrath, and I understand. I did that too when I first started to play this game. But, you can use your rage in so many different ways, whether it's passive effects, or just to be straight offensive, and you can do that for all of them. Now, I don't show too much of Valor. It's not because it's not good or anything, it's just... It's not something that I personally use, but I would make an argument that it's the greatest thing to use in any boss fight. Not because it gives you health, but because of the strength burst that you get. It's absolutely insane. You can do a crazy amount of single target damage. And, I mean, that health is just a bonus. But there are some amulets that enhance these effects, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. Speaking of Wrath, again, this is something I use passively. I use it to build up my skill gauge. I use it to either stagger an enemy and stop them from hitting me, or it's a good way to get a status affliction on an enemy to do even more damage. It all goes hand in hand. Anyway, that's going to do it for my top 10 tips for Ragnarok. Really hope you enjoyed. If you learned something, if I helped you in any sort of way, please hit that like button. That would mean an absolute ton. It definitely helps me out. And be sure to check out my playlist. This is definitely not the only game I know life. I love all sorts of PlayStation exclusives. I love, Red Dead Redemption, Sekiro, all that great, amazing stuff. So be sure to check that out. As always, I love y'all, and I hope you guys stay smooth. Peace.